Hey everybody, welcome to Ron's Computer Videos. Hey, we've got kind of a weird show that we're going to do tonight with a super special guest, Javier Rivera, kind of one of my favorite retro computing people, which is why I was so amazed that he agreed to come on and just talk to us about this kind of a silly topic, but maybe something that is of importance to you if you live somewhere where there's not maybe a lot of Macs that kind of show up in the local ecosystem. Yeah. So, and you're looking for a way to get those machines to you. So, Javier, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. So, again, something you posted on one of the Apple II groups a while back, and I'll show a picture of it here, that really got me interested is that really cool picture of kind of your methodology for shipping some of these classic machines, especially like Apples and things like that. Um, that is really for all the stuff I bought over the years that end up coming to me like where people ship stuff in just like super thin little boxes and it just arrives damaged. Kind of maybe take a second and just kind of tell us about like what your methodology is for making sure these machines arrive in one piece.
Well, yeah, and that's always happened to everybody. I think in once in a lifetime. I ship badly sometimes, and I receive badly a lot of times. So there only was one time that I sold this Apple II monitor, Apple IIc color monitor, I think it was, and I sent it out, and I just wrap it in plastic, put it inside the box, and send it out. And then the guy just sent it to me, send it back, say, well, this is destroyed. And when I get back, it was just in little pieces. And I learned my lesson. I paid the price. And since then, I've been being very carefully, and I realized, and I begin to do these things. And yes, I basically dual or triple layer sometimes the mostly monitors, but most of the computers that I ship, I always give a good padding of everything, all around. Plus, I wrap it around in bubble wrap because I don't want it. And also, if they're hollow inside, they got like cards or something. I put something in there also, just in case the cards move out and then begin to hit things. So yeah, learn my lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah. I saw that the graphic that you made quite a while back. And I use that as a basis. I just sent Sean from Geeks with Social Skills a Tandy monitor. So I was able to kind of put some of these things into practice. So I really do appreciate you putting that information out there and being willing to kind of share some of your knowledge. And it's like, hey, I learned the hard way. And so I figured out the best way to kind of do these things. But
Yeah, one of the things that I love to do, and I found out lately, is those tubes for a pool. How do they call it?
oh, pool
Pool tubes
noodles.
or
Yeah.
pool noodles.
Hmm.
Those are cheap. And
Hmm.
what you guys you buy two or three of them, cut them, and put them on the corners of the box, and that's it. And then you put another box inside, and that gives it a lot of good padding and cheap.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I did. It's cardboard over the glass
Mm-hmm.
and padding all around, going in multiple directions, box inside a box, and it arrived in great shape. Maybe Sean will post a video. I think he did an unboxing video of it because he sent me like
Good.
some explicatives on Twitter where he was like, "What am I supposed to do with all this packing material now?" So, but it
The
arrived in.
corners also of the machines. Yeah, those are the most important parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff where things get cracked around the edges. So, hey, let's dive in because
Mm-hmm.
I've got a list of machines here that I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about. Where because most of the stuff I see people kind of traffic in that they end up with machines that are busted are like classic Macintoshes, like pre G4, pre iMac kind of machines. So old world Macs, maybe is that maybe a fair kind of way to put it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I would say that.
All right. So I've got a list here of a bunch of those machines, and maybe we could go through kind of is like families of machines, and maybe talk
Okay.
about what maybe what your opinion is on how shippable those machines are, based on kind of that classic, like that rating thing that is all over the internet these days, where we'll have like, and I'll throw the graphic up here on the screen, and we've got A for something that's like highly shippable, B for something that's shippable but is probably going to take a little bit of care in how you get it there. C, it's shippable, but really major care is going to be needed. Maybe you're going to double box something. D, possibly shippable, but local pickup is absolutely kind of encouraged. D, do not ship, local pickup only. And then, of course, there's that super tier, that S tier, I think kind of popularized by like video games, where it's like if you do over and above, that it's your grade S. And that will be revealed at the very end, what we have selected as the most shippable Macintosh ever. And to make sure to get out ahead of this, we're not talking about, is Mackie finally going to get together with that Mac Plus? She's too old for him. Let's just make that clear. But, we're not talking about relationships. We're talking about shipping, actual post. So, all right. So we'll launch now that I got my lame joke out of the way. So what do you think about like the classic kind of like toaster Macs or whatever, like the 128K, 512K plus SE, SE30, Classic 2, kind of that the iconic Macintosh?
I would say C. I would say shippable, but you got to be careful with it. Just because, and who just did a great job with that is IIfx. They just created a box exactly the size of that one, and actually the little pieces of styrofoam that really make it very easy and very fast to ship it, and it's very safe. So I would take those boxes every time.
And I would agree. And it's because I see those machines all the time, and you've got a lot of weight. I think people don't think about the weight of the CRT on the plastic in the front, and they ship them kind of standing up. So your box is now maybe top heavy. So the shippers may not take as good of care as you think. So I see a lot of chipping like on the corners. So I'm glad you brought that up earlier about like, remember the corners matter and all this stuff too.
You got to start with the corners, actually. Yeah, I would say, just put corners, and then you wrap it in bubble wrap.
Well, what about kind of in that same vein? What about the Color Classic or the Color Classic 2? Because now you've got kind of that same form factor. You've got that weight on the front with the CRT, but the newer, more fragile plastic.
Newer plastics, and it's more fragile, and it's also heavier than the other one. So, and also have like little round parts on the bottom, so you got to be more careful with those. So yeah, that you have to be, even maybe we would go D.
Okay.
Maybe not that shippable.
Yeah, I would kind of agree. And I've seen a few that were shipped recently to people in different groups where, of all things, there was impact damage on the top and it broke the handle. And I mean, even mine.
That's very strong.
Yeah, I'm thinking, how hard did this hit, or how fragile is it? Especially somebody that might have used it like in a situation where it had a lot of like UV exposure, maybe. So I would really agree, a D on that. Well, what about maybe some machines that are more kind of boxy, that might be, you would look at them and they think they might lend themselves to better shipping. So like a Mac 2 or a 2X or 2FX. So sort of the original kind of Mac 2 machines.
Yeah, and the CX and all those boxy squarey, they will fare better. Still, some of them have like a little bad plastics at the end. Also the LCs, I would say they're pretty sturdy. Just the back things where you lift it up, sometimes tabs. They break. So
yeah, the tabs break a lot. Yeah. So on a 2 or a 2X or 2FX, I'm also thinking about those guys are packed full of NuBus cards and PDS cards and accelerators and cache cards and things. So what might people do? I mean, well, what would you rate it? Like, how shippable is it? Would you say it's more shippable than like the 128K and kind of those toaster Macs?
Yeah, they're still more shippable.
Okay. Yeah. So since those were a C, would you give them a B? Would you say shippable but with some care?
I would say a B. Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
So how would you address like new bus cards and things like that? Would you advise like removing them and shipping those separately?
I just put some bubble wrap inside, fitting it, and then close it,
Mhm.
so it fills it up so they don't move. You know
That's
what I mean?
probably a good strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, and you had kind of teased like 2CI, 2CX, 2SI, maybe like the Quadra 700, since those it's the smaller form factor version of
Small
like
form
Mac
factor,
2 and all that. Um,
squarish. Yeah.
so would you put those kind of in that same category, maybe like a B or like a strong
Yeah.
C?
B tending to C because of the, again, if you protect the edges,
Mhm.
you're golden.
Yeah, and I have seen some, believe it or not, like Quadra 700s that end up damaged because people have oversized NuBus cards, or they have a
Mm.
NuBus card that isn't like exactly kind of like I don't know that the PowerPC upgrade card for the Quadra 700, which is a PDS card, kind of has this problem, but I do know if you
Mhm.
try to use like the DOS compatibility card, the case kind of pops up. So I think I
Awesome.
saw somebody that had like a Quadra 700 with that card with the reply little extender. So that's like kind of an expensive thing,
Yeah.
that the case got destroyed, or the maybe motherboard got cracked or something like that, because of it doesn't really fit to begin with,
Pressure. Yeah.
and now you've
Yeah.
got extra shipping stresses on top of that. So
Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah.
yeah,
Take
and
those out if they're big. Yeah.
probably so. You had also said kind of LC, LC2, LC3, Quadra 605, and the Performa kind of equivalents like Performa 460 and all those machines, that the tabs break off a lot on
Yeah.
the back. What would you rate those? Like if you were to absolutely make sure that you have like some extra protection, maybe even taking like cutting a pool noodle to size and covering up the
Yep.
ports and stuff on the
That's what
back.
I do. I cut pool noodles in house, so they're like C's, like long C's, and those go in the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So yeah, if you do that, it would be almost an A.
Almost an
Those
A.
are very sturdy. Yeah,
That
they're pretty sturdy.
that's high
I
praise.
received one that once actually just with some peanuts and in a box, and it was moving inside, and it didn't get damaged. I was like, oh
Oh
my god,
wow.
this is
Yeah. So sometimes you
so.
do luck out, I think.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
But what about sort of staying in that like pizza box, which is I just remember I used to work for Ward's a million years ago, and we sold a ton of like those LC kind of machines. We sold a
Yeah.
ton of like Power Macintosh 6100s and things like that. So, but everybody, all the salespeople call them pizza boxes.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
so, what would you say, like Centris 610, Quadra 610, 660 AV, Power Mac 6100, and I'll have pictures of these cases flopping up here. So if you don't have like an
Yeah.
encyclopedic knowledge of all
Mm-hmm.
that folks at home can kind of follow this conversation maybe a little easier. But what do you think about those?
I would go on those ones. I would go a little bit more C or D. Why?
Really?
Because they also, yeah, the performance, on my experience,
Mm-hmm.
I may be wrong, but my experience, the performance plastics, and I
Mm-hmm.
know a little bit about plastics because I do a lot of retroride, of course.
You do.
they those plastics are, some of them are badly done, badly created, and they
Mhm.
tend to brittle a lot.
Really? Well, and I do
So
know that they kind of saved a few corners and things, or sort of whatever the proper
performance,
way to say that.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
they were cheap
Mhm.
Macs.
Right.
So
So,
yeah,
but you would throw the Apple ones in there with maybe the Apple branded ones, like first party. You got it at your local reseller, maybe like a C, but the
yeah,
Performas that had been thrown truck to truck across the country, maybe those are D's.
yeah, yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair
Because their
assessment.
plastic is pretty brittle, so you got to be more careful with that.
Absolutely. Well,
And monitors, forget it. No
yeah.
performance monitors. Do
Hmm.
not even touch them.
Yeah.
They just, once I was about to retroride one, I
Mhm.
pick it up and it broke in my hand.
The case broke.
So brittle.
I
So
have
brittle. Yeah.
the bases break off all the time
Yeah.
on those.
Yeah.
So it's you're going around where it's like it's blue tack or something just to kind of maybe hold it, kind of keep it on there, maybe.
Yeah.
But what about like the 2VI, 2VX, Quadra 650, Power Mac 6100. So kind of that desktop kind of case that was a little bit bigger, 3 new bus slots, you know, or 2 or 3, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But but what do you think about those?
Same C.
Really?
Actually, yeah, I got a couple of those in my garage, and they are brittle and they're very yellow, and I wanted to retrowrite them, and they, you know, not the case itself, but the base for the hard drive became yellow, and then when I took it out, it broke.
Yeah.
So the plastics are not good. So be very careful with those plastics.
Yeah, and I see a lot of. I see a lot of those like Quadra 605, 7100s that have the front is very, very you know, discolored from the bromine, and but I guess the back of it's at least metal.
Yeah.
So so it is slightly
different. Yeah.
Yeah. At least on those, a little bit of metal. So
yeah.
But what about everybody's favorite? It's part of this is the favorite. The Quadra 630, Power Mac 6200, 6300. I know that's 6300's everybody's favorite Mac, right?
But I think it's a kind of the same anyway. The same plastics and, you know, form function. I think they did some changes on the plastic formulation, because I've seen that the tabs, when you take out that front cover, there's some tabs in there, they broke sometimes. So
you know, if I was rating this one, I would say F, just because it's a metal frame, but there is so much plastic just slapped onto it
and just slapped.
And it's like the sides, they slide on. I mean, I think it's 2 screws, and it kind of loosens things up a bit. They kind of like they slide into like some little tabs, but if those tabs break off, I've seen tons on the secondary market that don't have sides, or on the back. If you think about where the video connector is, there's like just a housing around, or like just a little cheap plastic thing around that's normally gone. Or down by the power supply, there's another little piece of plastic that kind of slotted in there, and those are gone. So I just, that seemed, it's why it's everybody's favorite. Well, what about moving into some of the Tower Macs? Like Tower, sorry, not Power. Like the Quadra 800, 840 AV, Power Mac 8100, maybe like 8600. I think kind of still use the very, very similar kind of form factor, maybe.
But they are a little bit better. I think they did better on the plastics on those ones, because I've never seen any issues with those. Thankfully, you know.
I haven't seen any external plastic issues, but I know that people complain about the motherboard tray on those, where it's that skeletal sort of frame. And I think if you try to pop the motherboard out of the frame, I think it's like it edges in, or it kind of card edges into part of that. And if you don't have everything detension just right, I think you can snap that top. So that's maybe more of a lot of those have that issue more than like a shipping issue. But what would you rate them in terms of like shippability, like those machines? Keeping in mind that you've probably seen a ton of those machines that don't have front bezels, like covering up the floppy, or covering up, like, you know.
Oh, you're right. And people are looking for 3D printing for that. I would say B or C. I would say they're a little bit more sturdy anyway, because they're square, so they actually can withstand that. But that thing you told me about the motherboard, that's also something to consider. Very good.
I would think so. What about the Quadra 900 or Quadra 950? I would be kind of nervous to mail one of those, just based on how valuable they are. But
just for the value, I would say F, or, you know, don't ship.
Maybe a local pickup.
Too careful. Pick up.
I did have a friend that bought one from a reseller, or it was like somebody that was like a liquidator for schools and such, and I don't think they really knew what they had, but they were like, you know, like, we've got one of those. And so he was super excited to get a Quadra 950, and he was like, but do you have the key? And they were like,
Oh
oh yeah,
yeah.
we got the key right here, baby. And so he was like, well, make sure you pack the key in it. So what they did
Mhm.
is they put the key in the lock and locked it
Oh no.
and then shipped it. And what happened was, it I guess the impact damage, it bent the key and cracked all the plastic around the lock. So, but this was a pre like YouTube sort of repair. So there's no evidence of this like
Yeah.
amazing restore that he did. There's
Mhm.
probably some Polaroids somewhere, but I
Wow.
mean, he was like, it's like, yeah, I'm in there with the Bondo and I'm patching it. And I'm like, I'm color
But what
matching
a
the.
shame.
I
Yeah.
know, but I was just like, oh my gosh! But he got an amazing deal on it, so it made it worth it to maybe do that. But yeah, I think that was like you never would have expected. I would have been like, oh, they just duct taped it to the top of the machine.
And that's another thing that people should talk to the sellers when they are about to get the shipping. Make sure that nothing protrudes out of the machine, because that
Yeah.
will break it. That will cause havoc.
So are you saying don't ship my Color Classic with the LC2 emulation card with the
Correct.
cable plugged in?
With the
You're
cable
saying
plug.
unplug that first?
I
You're
would.
blowing my mind.
But you better not trust the seller to do the right thing. So
Yeah, I
you always
think.
tell them everything.
Yeah.
I learned it in the wrong way. You know, I once get a computer that has the keyboard and the mouse, everything put together, and actually, or on the drive, and the drive broke everything else.
Oh
Begin to
no.
move and broke the whole thing. So yeah,
I believe it, man. It's that
yeah.
metal starts smashing 30-year-old plastic.
Hmm.
It's basically that's the end of the road.
Yeah.
What about like a machine that like I have never seen one survive shipping? What about like the LC 550, 575, Mac TV, those related models? What about those?
Never ship.
Is there
Never,
something
ever,
lower than
ever, ever,
F?
ever. I
Yeah,
wish I could take those to a chemist and see what kind of plastic was done in that.
I think
It's the worst plastic I've seen in my life. Yeah.
it's platinum colored smoke. I
Yeah.
don't even think it's plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wishful
Horrible.
thinking holding it all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Because I saw a picture maybe a week or so ago of somebody that like they're, well, what can I do? And it was like I think a 550 because they were gonna upgrade like a Color Classic or something,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and so they bought the whole machine, and I was like, well, thank goodness you just needed the motherboard, because it was like all that weight, that 15-inch CRT had just broken free and just
Yep.
bounced around inside on the
Gone.
analog board, and so it was, the tube was necked, so there really wasn't anything you could do with it other than like pull that out and cry a little bit, pour one out for your buddy, and
cry and
yeah,
go home. Yeah.
send it to the recycler after that. Oh man, so sad.
Horrible.
Well, what about like the 4400 or some of those Macintosh clone models? Because a lot of those were just shipped in like PC sort of modified ATX cases. So it was like all metal with just a few plastic accents.
I had a power computing. I had a couple of power computings on the past, and I think I still have one. And yes, the plastic gets brittle on the power computing, believe it or not.
Okay.
So you got to be careful. So I would say also a F maybe, or or a C maybe, because they're square. Yeah. So you got to be very careful with the plastic.
Well, we'll meet in the middle. How about D? D sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of those power computing too, because it's like the round effects and stuff. Maybe on some of those Star Max and some of those other machines. That some of that, or UMax, yeah. Or I was thinking Motorola. Sorry, but yeah, some of that stuff gets banged up pretty good. So like. Probably should have done this one a second ago, but like the 5200, 5300. So those other sort of like all-in-one 15-inch kind of on the swivel base, you got some other stuff that can break.
Yeah, that's also can break easy. With those bases will just get destroyed right away. Yeah, definitely.
So a D or an F on those two. Yeah.
A D for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: like on some of those, would you recommend? Do you want to ship it with the glass down, Or do you want to like even like upside down if it has like a swivel base or something on it? Or
I
just
would say
extra
with the glass
padding?
down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say with the glass down, of course, it's double box, protected all around, and then, glass down, even if the swivel is on the side,
Mhm.
and of course, protect that swivel around, of course.
Sure.
Be
Or if
very
it's
careful. The
possible to
space,
remove it, maybe even try to remove it and pack
if
that a little
possible,
bit
but most
separately.
people won't try it. They
No, they
will just
won't.
say,
Yeah. I think that they would be too scared to break something, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of breaking stuff, what about the TAM, the 20th
Oh my
anniversary
God.
Mac? So now we've
I
got,
got one, and
yeah.
no, I would
You
never,
wouldn't.
ever ship it.
You know what? I think you just put it in one big box with the subwoofer, and you pray a little pray on it and just mail it off.
You only ship it if you have the original box. I would say that.
Yeah, that's probably a
I would
good
say,
assessment.
yeah,
If you have the
yeah,
original box, I think if you have the original box and plastics on, or sorry, styrofoams on some of these, it
definitely.
might be okay, assuming that it hasn't like degraded with time and all that.
Yeah. Plus, you got to put that box inside the box because nobody wants a TAM original box to be damaged by
Right.
USPS. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I shipped something to Joe from Joe's Computer Museum. Like somebody sent me a DOS compatibility card. They mailed some stuff to me in that box, and I mailed it to Joe because I'm like, it's already ruined. And I think like
okay.
somebody read him the riot act. They were like, I cannot believe you destroyed that box. And I was like, it was already
Yeah,
destroyed.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
wasn't in
there's,
great
of course,
shape.
levels you can take. Yeah. You can
Yeah.
say, okay, this is okay.
Well, what about the granddaddy of them all, man? What about the G3 AIO? What about that G3 all-in-one, the Molar Mac?
Oh, no. That's a no-no. Yep. That will
Don't,
break.
yeah,
Don't ship it.
don't
Don't ship it
ship
at
it.
all. And
John
I think
Ive,
that has that plastic too. Yeah,
John Ivy will come to your house personally and
definitely.
wrap your hands
Slap
with a
you.
ruler.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, kind of related to that, what about the like the G3 desktop? Because I've had a few of those because it's kind of similar. Because you think about like the
It's similar
7200,
the performance, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, which I mean
Yeah, I would
those
say those.
really fragile plastic.
Yeah.
The power buttons
Uh,
just like they give up. Like the first time you press
mhm.
it, there's just a snap inside the machine.
Yeah, I would say also no.
You power on the machine and just the spindle on the hard drive spinning up like breaks all the 3.5 inch sleds. It's not that bad, but still.
No, but
Yeah. All right. Well, what about some of the machines that are designed to be portable? So what about like the PowerBook
mm.
series or the Macintosh Portable? Start with the Mac Portable. What about that one?
Well, the Mac Portable, I wouldn't. Although I think they're plastics, I actually have a portable plastics in my garage, and
Mhm.
they're very sturdy. The plastic itself is sturdy, but the size and the corners they
Right.
should be very, very well, taken care of if
Hmm.
you're going to ship it. So I would say at least at the C or D because you got to be
Wow.
very careful. Yeah,
I'll say D just because it's so
yeah, and
valuable.
it's valuable. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So a backlit
Oh,
portable
I
with
wish I had one of those. I want it. Yeah,
I think everybody does.
yeah.
But you know what? I'd take a PowerBook 100 just because it's very nostalgic for me.
That's true. Yeah.
It's everything you like about the portable. Only sorry, the trackball's in the middle. There's no switching. Sorry. So what about the 100 series PowerBooks? I know that a lot of those have issues with screen hinges. Kind of famously, I
Yeah,
know that Does
yeah.
Not Compute just did a video recently where with 3D printing, and then actually he's getting ready to change the name of the channel, but the Crazy Tech Reviews did
Oh
a
yeah.
did a
Yeah, he's
the
a cool
power.
guy.
Yeah, Logan's a nice kid.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a great guy. Yeah.
uh, so but replace those hinges and stuff. So would you say that the body plastics are okay? It's just you've got hinges that are maybe more of the
I
issue.
got a bunch of them in that corner. And yes, I had to actually replace a bunch of the hinges uh, for the hard drive, for the monitor screen. So
Mhm.
yeah, I would say internals are more fragile than outside.
Yeah.
And of course, the little swivel in the back, the little door.
Oh yeah, the
doors.
doors are mostly missing on a lot of those machines.
Yeah.
I think when I had my PowerBook 100, Apple had a replacement program for the feet, because the PowerBook 100 has telescopic feet. So when you would turn them, they kind of extend a little bit as they go out, and you could just go and they would just give you a bag, because they knew that they were going to be, it's like, we just know they're going to break, so here's like a bag of 10, come back when you need more. So I would say like some of those early, like the 100, 140, 170, which I think are like the first three, I would probably say that those are, maybe a C or a D. Not
I would say C.
Yeah.
Just because they're square, so yes, you can pack them real well. But anyway, if they move too much and rattle, they will break from the inside.
Yeah.
The little side.
So what about the 500 series, like the are the Blackbirds? Is that kind of what the
those are stronger. I think they're sturdier. Yeah, I would say B.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I haven't seen any.
So what about some of the later PowerBook models like that, like 5300s, 1400 CS, some of those, the late 190, some of the late PowerBooks that still used some of that plastic. I've seen a few that have monitor issues or like latch problems, but not like
much.
The 100 series.
Exactly.
So would you say that maybe these are a B or an A?
That's a B. I would say a B. Yeah.
All right.
They're pretty.
I'm taking notes
reliable.
here. I'm taking notes.
Good.
So I know. I mean, like this is Javier's list, so you can question at your own peril. So, well,
blame it on him.
Yeah. So we did. You kind of brought up earlier about Apple CRTs. And how the Performa CRTs especially were very, very fragile. What would you say about like their CRTs in general? Like I would probably be really, really, I mean, could you even afford to ship one of those 21-inch displays these days?
No. I would say those have to be handpicked. And I actually got a few weeks ago 14-inch LCD monitor.
Yeah,
and that's pretty sturdy. That's pretty good. I retrowrite, no issues. The plastic is good.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't vouch for any of the other monitors for the the Mac.
Yeah, I had a like the 15-inch AV monitor, like the multi-sync or multi-scan. I can't remember what the
one with the two speakers.
Yes, like those grills on the side, and the bottom was snapped off. One of the grills was all caved in, and I mean I thought it was shipped okay, but I've also gone to estate sales and seen that exact monitor, and just the handling of people like getting it from somebody's office to a table. I've seen that stuff break.
Yeah, you pick it up and it breaks in pieces. Yeah.
So
bad plastic.
In general, would you say that the CRTs are just an F? Like I just wouldn't really try to ship them if you wanted them to survive. And maybe that's not true of like all CRT monitors, because again, I mean I've shipped like CRTs and stuff in the past, and if you like.
No, I've done it. I actually shipped the CRT to France a few weeks ago. But you should see the packing.
Oh sure,
you should see the packing, because I know it's going to be in different shippers and it's going to be moving. So I did double boxed and almost like shock absorbers all around. It was you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would be really, really kind of hesitant to like mail like a 2-page display, like a black and white 2-page display, because those are so rare now.
I would love to have those.
I'd love to have it. I've got the card.
I would get it.
I've got the card. I just need the monitor.
Man.
Yeah, one of these days I'll find somebody that's got one. So hey,
I'm sure you will.
We're almost to the end here. I appreciate everybody's patience, because we teased earlier about the most shippable Macintosh, the one that Javier and I both have agreed is an absolute S rating. It is the most shippable Mac of all time. Without any further ado, it's the Smack Mac. The Smack Mac. You could do anything to this Mac. You could squish it flat. and you could put it in just an overnight envelope, and it will arrive. It will arrive with no trouble. Yeah, I love this little thing. This is actually on loan to me from a coworker.
I love those. I've been trying to get one of those.
And I was just like, when I started thinking about the idea of making this video, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, do you think I could borrow that? And he goes, oh yeah, that's no problem. And I was like, have you seen what they go for on eBay these days? And he's like, what? And so the entire time it's been at my house, it's been in like a gallon storage bag up on a shelf so that nothing would, I can't afford to replace it. This is more expensive than, yeah, this is more expensive than many real Macs. So, but for anybody that doesn't know, these were kind of a novelty thing that came out, and I'll have a picture up here in a second that has got some more information. But just where, you know, if your Mac was giving you a hard time, you could just take your frustrations out on this little stuff. Oh, I can't beat you up, Smack a Mac. You're just too sweet.
No, sorry, I'm sorry.
But yeah, it even shipped with like these guys shipped with like a little manual that looked like kind of the like a user's guide that looked like a real Apple manual. I always thought that was kind of funny. So, but anyway, yeah, this is our S tier, the Smack a Mac. But well, Javier, thanks so much for joining me tonight. This was a fun conversation.
It was a great conversation.
Did you have anything that you maybe wanted to pitch or anything like that before we wrapped up?
No.
Absolutely. I'll have links to your channel down at the bottom. Some of your upcoming projects that you're working on. Everybody can, I'm really looking forward. I'm not putting you on the spot about your session that you're going to come up for this year's Kansas Fest, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I think you're going to like it. And please put those photos also I send you of how I ship things.
Yes, those absolutely. I'll make those part of the video. So everybody, thank you very much for joining us. And Javier, thanks for joining me as well. And like I like to end all my videos, just everybody remember, Apple II forever.